Daredevil is the best superhero show ever made, and I've seen a lot of great superhero shows. They all have their moments, but none have reached the absolute style and quality and absolute perfection that Daredevil reaches. I started watching the show back in October when I saw he was returning to the MCU and She-Hulk and decided it was probably a good time to give this show a shot, and over the last month and a half, I have been absolutely addicted to this show. A show that is genuinely masterful, a show that strives to be incredible and interesting at every turn, and absolutely nails how to translate a superhero story to the screen masterfully. In case you don't know, the show is about Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer who has other heightened senses due to his blindness, and the show is about him as a normal person slowly beginning to rise up to the occasion, become a hero as he tries to rid crime of his home in Hell's Kitchen. He dons a suit for the first time as he begins to rid crime from the city, and he becomes Daredevil. It's a pretty simple premise for a show, and it could get boring and repetitive, and could be a show that was riddled with filler. It's like a lot of other superhero shows, like a lot of shows have this premise, and what are you guys doing? Get back here! Daredevil, though, throughout is excellently paced as the story is always unraveling as we see each person Daredevil takes down slowly lead to another slew of problems. It's a show that's never stagnant. It's a show that is constantly changing the status quo and constantly moving our character forward and always progressing him. Season 1 shows us the rise of Matt as he slowly becomes Daredevil and has to fight to the top of the crime food chain to take out the Kingpin. Season 2 is Matt having to be the devil of Hell's Kitchen while trying to hold his life together, while struggling to do his duty as Daredevil as the brutality of the criminals gets stronger, while he also has to make sure that he's keeping the people close to him safe. And Season 3 is the fall of Daredevil, the combination of him losing everything, returning to the basic, the core dilemma between his good and evil, and the good part of him, the compassion and the devil within him, the fight between Matt Murdock and Daredevil, him at his lowest, reduced to nothing as becomes pure vengeance as he once again has to fight his way through the gauntlet of crime as his pain and injuries he's received have never been higher. Daredevil himself is not only one of the best and most well-developed protagonists through television history, he's one of the most interesting and compelling superheroes to ever be put to screen. His faith and that interlink between that and his ideals are so interesting, constantly diving into his psyche and who he is deep down. It's not only about him fighting villains, but the internal struggle of Matt himself. The small moments in this show are just as powerful as the incredible action scenes of him taking down villains of the city, but the small moments and scenes are only as good as the actor that delivers them, and we gotta talk about Charlie Cox's Daredevil. Charlie Cox gives one of the best performances ever on TV, constantly showing in his face and his movements, the small details and ideas going through his head without saying a word. You know instantly what he is thinking, even with his mask on. Like, that is just incredible. He completely transforms into this character, and never for a second you don't believe he is Daredevil. His performance was so good, he received a Helen Keller Award from the American Foundation for the Blind. He's that convincing, and he truly gives an outstanding performance that makes you truly connect with Matt Murdock. And the amazing character treatment applies to every character as well. Daredevil. Appearing in the final season of Daredevil, we get Special Agent Ben Poindexter, Dex, or if you read the comics, Bullseye. He's a character very similar to Matt. He was orphaned and abandoned, and just like Matt, he has an intense anger and rage that he just wants to take out on the entire city. He is the opposite side of the coin to Matt, which leads to him eventually taking on the suit of Daredevil. Kingpin gives him the suit, and as he takes on that suit, the line between him and Matt become more and more blurred, both being expert combatants with insane reflexes and the pain and anger that drives them, one giving in to his anger and killing, and the other having to constantly fight the desire and never giving in. Never has Matt been more tempted and pushed to his limits than by Dex. Dex is so terrifying and unhinged, only enhanced by a chilling performance by Wilson Bethel. Literally. Dex brings out the absolute struggle and pain of Matt Murdock being Daredevil, the opposite of what he represents and the biggest question of who Daredevil really is. The show is constantly deeper than just being a show about a superhero beating up bad guys. The show isn't about just a hero fighting, it's about a character struggle with morality. From the first scene of the show focuses on Matt's religion, a constant throughout the entire series. The idea of helping people but never being able to kill the true evils of the world, the need for something violent to bring out the good of the city. This show is all about what a hero is. The first season is a near perfect season of his origin and Matt coming to grasp on how to be a hero for the city. We see him struggle and barely escape multiple times until he dons the suit and becomes the hero, until he becomes Daredevil. Season 2 is all about questioning why he does what he does. Does he need to be a hero if there's someone who loves him? Why doesn't he go all the way with his justice and kill the true evil of the world? This is the weakest season of the show, but it's still great. It still has that emotional core. It also also leaves Matt at his lowest point. It leaves him emotionally destroyed and at the lowest point of his entire life, where we start season 3. This is where we see what the entire show has been building to, each season being its own contained thing that is amazing and pays off in its own, but all going towards this, leading us towards season 3, which is the masterpiece conclusion of his character. Everyone believes Daredevil is dead by the beginning of season 3, so Matt has completely retreated out of the public eye. Matt Murdock has abandoned everyone he knows, and he's completely returned to his roots, training and hiding in a church, preparing for his final job and mission as Daredevil, to take out Kingpin. The show has never been more focused, showing the duality of his rage and anger to stop Kingpin and the constant religious questioning of why he has his morals. The challenge of faith and the deconstruction of everything he stood for, the pure devil in him, meant to stop Kingpin with no compassion, with just his love for violence. A truly broken man still doing good, and the literal split between fighter and compassion. It's a season that has him start at the basement of a church, only for him to slowly rise to the top of the cityscape as he has to fight his way through the most grueling and most challenging gauntlet he's ever been put through. The rise of a hero as he has to fight and take down the evil of a city by using the power of the law, using his anger but controlling himself. The balance between law and justice, the balance between anger and compassion, the line between villain and hero, that line between Daredevil and everyone else. It's the violence and the use of it throughout the entire show, and especially season 3, that makes it so interesting and such an interesting part of his character. Usually we don't think about superhero fights and who they are fighting, like whatever, it's just the third act thing, it has to happen, but Daredevil puts meaning behind every fight and every battle. It's not just about looking cool, even though these are the coolest fight scenes ever, and it's not just about who is physically winning, but it's about the story and characters that are at stake. Every battle is progressing the overall story and showing our characters and the changes in them as they are progressing further into the story. The action constantly has weight behind it. And the action here is the greatest action I've ever seen in a TV show when it comes to fight scenes and choreography. The long take scenes from each season are some of the greatest action scenes, period. And the prison break one from season 3 episode 4 is maybe my favorite scene in the entire MCU. You know what? We're just gonna watch it because I want you to see it. It is so amazing. Get him out! Go! Every fight with Daredevil feels impactful. He isn't invincible, so there's always tension with who he's going up against. These villains are just as strong, if not stronger than him, and it's always so tensely interesting to see how is he going to survive or possibly win these fights. All of this communicated with great choreography, great stunt work, and amazing camera work. The show's overall direction and cinematography is absolutely stunning. Throughout the entire show, this show is absolutely beautiful. Every shot in this show is just on another level. Every image having a purpose, as it feels that every shot was just lifted right out of the panels of the comics. The pilot of Daredevil is the best looking pilot I've ever seen in a TV show. This is one of the most visually amazing shows that has ever been made, and it perfectly complements the absolutely amazing action and story, as well as it all combines to create a truly unforgettable show. Daredevil from start to finish is one of the most amazing shows ever made, telling one of the most compelling stories about one of the best characters and superheroes of all time. If you haven't seen this show, you owe it to yourself to check it out. It is genuinely one of the most amazing shows, and if you're an MCU fan like I was that still hadn't watched it, it is completely worth it. It doesn't feel like something that was crapped out. Everyone involved obviously loved this show, and you can see it throughout, and especially with how expertly crafted and perfect the finale for this show is. You see that vision throughout, and all that love and care absolutely shines through. Daredevil is the greatest superhero show ever made, and it's one of my favorite shows ever. Full stop. I'd give this show an extremely strong 9 out of 10. It's close to a 10, but season 2 was a little weaker, and I'll never forgive season 2 for forcing me to have to watch Defenders before watching season 3, because geez, watching this, I just wish I was blind.